So as I said before, I've had 10 fights. Out of the 10, I've won 8. My 2 losses were on splits, so it could have gone either way. Some of my achievements were, so I was a silver medal in the Golden Gloves, in the National Golden Gloves. I was state champion, South Australian state champion in 2020. I was also a silver medalist in the National Club Championships, which was another national event.
Back once again, the incredible, the crew that does it proper, done proper. Beat street.
Welcome to the Fitness for Freedom podcast. I'm Dan Vansetten. I spent over a decade in prison. I've since gone on to study for a law degree. I found sport and fitness crucial to maintaining a positive mindset to get through imprisonment. Join me as I talk to people from all walks of life to hear their story of how sport and exercise has helped them build resilience and overcome adversity. Daniel Chung, I'm very pleased to have you here today for the very first episode of this Fitness for Freedom podcast. I consider you a good friend. We met in prison around 2016. Since then, I've seen you go on to achieve some great things in life, including success in your relationship with your partner and your 2 young daughters, success in your employment. You have a solid support network of friends and professionals around you. And all the while, you've found a passion for boxing and had some good success with boxing, which I can't wait to talk about soon. Given the progress you've made since prison, I really think that you, or anyone would think that you are a mentor to anyone who has got themselves in some sort of trouble in life and is now looking to get their life back on track. I'm really looking forward to this discussion today, mate. Welcome.
Thank you.
I think we'll start by discussing your journey through prison.
Yep.
And then we'll talk about your involvement in sport and exercise, particularly in prison and before prison. And then we'll look at what role boxing played in your life.
Yep.
Starting with your time in prison, how old were you when you went to jail, and what was the nature of your offence and length of prison sentence?
So I was 20 years of age when I got sentenced. I was sentenced to 5.5 years on the top, and I had a bottom sentence of 2 years. My crime, I got locked up for a violent assault. It was actually a group fight back when I was 17, but it dragged through court for a couple of years, and hence I ended up getting sentenced when I was 20 years old.
And what was the amount of time you actually spent in prison?
I ended up doing about 2.5 years.
2.5?
2.5 years in total.
So when you got out of prison, you were around 22, 23?
About 23, yeah.
About 23 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And if I can take you back to the day that you were sentenced.
Yeah.
If I can ask you about the morning before court, getting prepared for court, and the whole process of arriving to court.
Yeah.
Who you shared that moment with, and what your expectations were about whether you were going to prison that day or not.
I can't say I really prepared for it as such, but I went down with my partner Sarah and 2 of my friends Nathan and Tyler.
Was there discussion about you going to prison that day?
I actually don't recall.
No,
I don't recall.
It was a fair while ago.
Yeah, it was.
So.
It was back in 2015. I just remember being in the courtroom, and I just remember getting sentenced.
Okay. Do you remember actually getting into the courtroom and then walking into the dock?
One thing I do remember is standing in the dock with my 2 coies, and then my partner, 2 friends were there, and their family and stuff were there too.
The actual sentencing itself, what do you recall about the sentencing and the judge, I guess, reading out the sentencing remarks?
Yeah.
And what you were thinking as they were being read out?
Oh, it was more, my mind was pretty numb, bit numb to it. So they read out my coie Isaac. They read out his sentencing first, and they gave him 10 years. And I remember hearing 10 years and just thinking, fuck.
What were you expecting? If you were going to get sentenced, what was sort of a figure in your mind that you thought, well, maybe this is a possibility of you spending?
So my lawyer told me from the start, like due to my age, I should get a lot less, but it just depends on the judge that you get. But obviously I pled guilty too, so I got a little bit less due to that,
Yep.
like a discounted sentence.
Sometimes it can be a little bit hard hearing what the judge actually says in sentencing. So did you understand the time frame, the 5 years with, and then the non-parole period? Do you understand how long that was? Did you hear how long that was?
Yeah.
Could you actually grasp in your mind how long that would be?
It's funny. So how I sort of analysed it was, I thought, well, I've been with my partner for 4 years, and that felt like a lifetime. So I thought an extra year and a half on top of that. I thought, fuck.
Yeah. From that point, you would have obviously been taken out the back of the court.
Yeah.
And then through the back corridors of the court, of the district court.
Yeah.
Into the holding cell.
Yes.
And then off to prison.
Yeah.
So what was that like when you were in the van heading to, was it Yatla that you went to?
Yeah, Yatla.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just remember, I remember we got, so my colleague Isaac, he was already inside, but he was at Moblong. So he got shipped there, and then me and my other colleague Jason, we were on the bus to Yatla, and there was a couple of other guys on there too, but I just remember at the time just trying to just sort of soak it all up, just trying to understand, like I just got 5.5 years, obviously 2 years on the bottom, but you know what I mean?
Potentially doing 5.5 years, there's no guarantee that you'd be out in the 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
For anyone that's ever been to Yatla, it looks quite daunting from the outside. It's old stone building and razor wire.
It needs
all
a
around
renovation. It needs a reno.
It definitely needs a reno. I'd driven past Yatla many times before
Yeah.
I'd went there, and then the day that you're actually driving into Yatla, you're wondering what you're going to see inside and how that's going to look. What were some of the things in that first day that really stick out to you as you got processed? You go through the front corridor.
Yeah.
You get changed.
Yeah.
You go into the holding cell.
Yeah.
And then you go off to the
Fishbowl.
in the fishbowl.
Yeah. In there for a bit.
And then off to the cells.
Yeah.
So, how were you taking that in? Like, what were you thinking when that was going on?
Well, it was a bit later at night, so we got sentenced. It must have been in the afternoon because by the time we got to Yatla, it was dark. I remember it being dark and sort of getting out and just trying to, understand where I am. And we got taken through and whatever, and got put in the fishbowl, we call it, or the holding cells.
Mm-hmm. So, did you get your bed pack?
Yes. So once we got through processing, we grabbed our bed pack and
off to the cell.
Off to the cell. I was lucky because me and my colleague got celled up straight away. So
together.
Yeah.
That is lucky because it's always really, it's like a mixed bag of lollies when you go into prison. You're not sure who you're going to be celled up with.
It is, and the interesting thing is, in the fishbowl, there was a group of guys in there too. There was probably about 12 of us, I reckon, in total. And one guy there, bigger guy, 100 plus kilos. I'll never forget it. He blocked the toilet bowl and flushed it, to bring more water in. Started soaking himself. I just remember thinking to myself, fuck, I hope I don't get celled up with that guy.
Yeah, there's some people got some strange ways, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So over the coming week, I guess, when you're really sort of understanding the routine and looking at what prison is like, was there anything that sort of stuck out as something you didn't expect, like the food or the conditions of the cells or the routine, say?
Yeah, okay, so the conditions of the cells. I remember walking in and I said to my guys, this looks like a pirate ship, like an old pirate ship with these stone walls. And I'll never forget it. My first morning, I'd woken up to the, when they pull down the trap.
Yeah.
I'd woken up to the trap being pulled down, and what I thought was like a brick and paper towel on the trap. I said to Jason, "What's that?" He's I think it's toast. Ended up being cold brick and toast.
That's right. You get your cold toast in the morning.
Yeah.
Classic Yatla breakfast.
Yep.
Yeah,
McGregor's butter.
and it comes at about 6 o'clock, I think. So, that's how you get woken up.
Yeah.
You're about 20 years old at this stage. Young people, young men, quite impressionable at that age.
Yeah.
And I think, young guys are still developing until the age of 25. And although you're considered an adult at that time, I think it's fair to say that you're still finding your way in life.
Yeah, you definitely are.
So you found yourself thrown in an adult prison and you're surrounded by guys who may have been heavily involved in crime their whole life. So I'm really interested to know what guidance, if any, that you got from prison authorities in relation to first going to jail and what you should be aware of, and any sort of things that maybe to give you a heads up on maybe, all right, I'm in prison now and I need to be careful and I need to start thinking about what I'm doing and who I'm hanging around because a lot of my life now is going to be significantly impacted on what happens during this time in prison.
Yeah, so straight away I just remember thinking I just want to pull my head down, start training, get fit, get healthy. And I wanted to find out what courses you could do in there because I did hear prior to going in that there was a jail, I think it was Mobilong at the time, that do some courses and stuff like that. So I sort of wanted to find out where I had to be to, get to be able to access some of those courses. But my priority at that time was definitely to start training, get fit, get healthy,
Was there anything from the prison authorities themselves to sit down and guide you through that process? Did anyone proactively come up to you and say, look, Daniel, you've come to prison now. This is what's available to you. Did you experience anything like that?
No, not really. Like when you get processed, they just go through all your details and stuff like that. And they sort of ask the question of, like, what are you going to do while you're in here? There's not much you can do.
No.
But I just told them the same thing. I just want to train.
Yeah.
Train and just do my sentence.
I experienced a similar thing and, there really is no guidance for people when you get to prison. They basically ask you what you're going to do and you have no idea what you can do or anything. So it's a really strange process.
It is.
And for those who haven't been to prison, can you explain the journey you went through prison? For example, what prisons you then were transferred to, and maybe if you can give an explanation about the difference between those prisons in terms of the security rating and maybe the difference of being in a different security rating prison.
Obviously, I started in Yatla, which is high security. So because my crime was violent, you put in high security straight away, and you sort of just work your way down. So from high security, I think you have a security rating. So once your rating drops over time, then they'll move you on. So I started in Yatla, high security, and then got moved to Mobilong, which was a medium security jail. And then from Mobilong, once my security dropped again, I got shipped to Cadell in the Riverland, which is a low security jail. Yatla is a lot more confined. Not much movement happens at Yatla, especially B Division. You're locked down, I think, 22 hours of the day. But Mobilong's a bit better. You get to Mobilong, medium security. You have your own courtyard in your unit. So you start off in STIRT, which is an induction unit. So whatever jail you go to, you always start off in an induction unit. I was in STIRT for a couple of weeks, and then you progress from there inside the jail too. You've got other units which have different, how would you say it? Like different lockdown times. So I remember, I think it was light unit, you have to be locked down at, I think 4:30. But then if you go to Angus unit or Murray unit, you're out until, I think maybe 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock some nights.
You're unlocked until 8.
Yeah, except for the weekends.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Ross unit too. You get Ross unit, which is like a little group of cottages.
It's funny actually seeing Ross unit. I remember the first time I saw Ross unit, I actually couldn't believe that was part of prison.
Yeah.
It was like its own little community.
Yeah.
Sort of like a little housing trust community within the prison.
I actually remember when I got to Mobilong, walking past and actually looking and thinking that was like something to do with the screws. Like one of their like offices or something like that,
Yeah, because they're literally little cottages in there.
Yeah.
And there's 7 guys living in each little cottage.
Yeah.
And they've got their own kitchen. And then Cadell, obviously a low security prison, so there was a lot more freedom of movement there.
Yeah, a lot more freedom of movement at Cadell. They actually kick you out of the unit, funnily enough.
Okay.
rather than keep you in. They actually kick you out.
Kick you out so
Yeah.
you get out and about around the jail.
throughout the day, yeah.
Yeah.
So Cadell, how do I explain that? Cadell was just like a farm,
Yeah.
self-sufficient farm.
Complete with its own cows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And dairy.
Yep.
Olive grove.
Olive groves. What was it called? Not citrus.
Yeah. Citrus.
Yeah.
It was citrus.
Yeah.
So really, Cadell's the place you want to be
Cadell's the place you want to be.
if you have to be in prison.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that stood out for me when I first went to prison was a perception that I had probably from TV shows, which I pictured all the cells to have bars at the front of the cell
Yeah.
where you can look out, you could put your mirror out the bar and you could see down the wing to see what's going on. And but you get to prison and you find out there's no bars.
No, it's completely different. Just a door with a little peephole.
It's basically doors.
Yeah.
It's like a corridor
Yeah.
with doors. And I had a cellmate who actually become good friends with, and we were talking about this one day.
Yeah.
And he actually said he felt ripped off with the jail experience because there was no bars. He wanted the bars.
Yeah.
What do you think did?
Oh, mate, it's funny because I actually thought the same thing. I thought you had the bars.
Yeah.
And then when I got to Yatla, I seen that it was just doors with a little peephole. So except for the disabled cell. Do you remember the disabled cells?
No.
So the disabled cell was obviously a bigger cell
Yeah.
and a bit more movement.
Yep.
And it had like a long strip of glass you could see out well and truly.
So, mate, we first crossed paths in Mobilong, I think during 2016.
Yeah, it was.
We both moved to Cadell together, which was about mid-2016.
Yep.
We ended up in similar units together
Yeah.
in Cadell.
Yep.
And then we went through into the cottages at Cadell.
We did.
So we spent a fair bit of time together.
We did.
From my point of view, I saw you as an easygoing lad.
Yeah.
You seemed always to be in a good mood. You were constantly finding ways to have a laugh with people.
Yeah.
Often through some good-hearted mischief.
Yeah, always.
You seem like you made the best of what most would really say is a bad situation.
Yeah.
You also put other people around you in good spirits a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Is that generally how you felt most of the time in prison?
Yeah, well, it's a funny question. I actually did feel like I was in a good mood a lot of the time. Like I was always having a laugh and stuff like that, training. But obviously, you get your days, you do get your dark days. But yeah, I definitely agree with that.
In terms of hardship in prison, I think everyone experiences some type of hardship, but in their own unique ways. The prison environment itself can be very hostile
Yeah.
and very depressive. No one's there because they want to be there.
Yeah.
And in amongst all that, I don't think I ever seen you phased, and I definitely didn't hear you complain about anything.
Yeah.
So really, I'm interested to know, what is it that you found challenging about prison?
There was definitely challenging times at the start. You're sort of finding your bearings, finding your feet, just getting used to the lockdown. You can't just jump on your phone, message your partner or your family or anything like that. I'd definitely say my first major hardship in prison was actually when I was at Mobilong in Sturt Unit 2016. It was in January, actually, sort of before my birthday. Is when my partner and myself separated. So that was my first big sort of test when I was inside. But again, the same as yourself, Dan, I sort of kept that to myself. And so how I dealt with that and, situations like that, I just trained.
And that is a common outlet for people who experience issues, is training.
Yeah.
It's really hard with family breakdowns or relationship breakdowns. I think a lot of it is the lack of communication, the lack of engagement with family.
Yeah.
And is that the partner that you're with now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my partner, Sarah. Yeah, we rekindled, yeah. So she's the mother of my kids, my two daughters.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we rekindled. I got out December 2017. And so the first day I got out, we spoke on the phone for like 2 hours. And it was good. I don't know, it was just like everything from our past had sort of was just gone. It was just like everything was just like a fresh start.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, we actually properly rekindled when I flew over to Perth because she was living in Perth at the time.
Okay.
I flew over to Perth. I got approved to go over Christmas time, 2018, and that's when we rekindled.
No, that's a good story, and we'll hear more about that very shortly.
Yeah.
In the community, normally, if something's going on, you can go hang out with your mates.
Yeah,
And that can help take your mind off things.
yeah,
But in prison, it's just you a lot of the time.
yeah,
And you're spending a lot of time in places where there's not much to distract yourself from.
yeah. That's right.
So the issues that can be experienced can be compounded.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's a greater risk of having sort of, greater mental health and
Yeah,
depression
yeah.
and that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
What about boredom in prison? Did you find that hard to deal with?
Boredom. There was definitely boredom inside, but you definitely always find a way to have a laugh. Even when you're locked down, if you're yelling out to someone across, in the cell across from you or down the hall or something like that, you generally always find a way to have a laugh.
And so that's pretty much how you dealt with boredom, just
Yeah.
having a laugh with,
Yeah,
with
pretty
the other
much.
lads.
Yeah.
No, I found that too. It's probably the best way to deal with boredom in
Yeah.
there, if you can.
The best was when it was hot, Dan, in B division, and they'd have to put the traps down. So then you can actually visually see who you're talking to.
So you're looking through the trap
Yeah.
into someone else's head, poking through their trap,
Yeah.
and you can have a laugh, a joke.
Yeah.
What about the food?
All right, where do I start? So Yatla's food is just putrid. It's the only way to sum that up. So for
What is it actually? Let's look. What is it? What's a common meal that comes?
All so the common lunch, we used to call it disco frites. So it was like this Fritz looking piece of meat with like little green speckles through it.
Mystery meat.
I'm not sure if it was for human consumption, but it's all we sort of had. So
Yeah.
so that was for lunch, and then dinner was sort of like a mixed bag of lollies. You weren't sure what you're going to get. But at Yatla, the protectees were the chefs. You'd call them the cooks. So it wasn't ideal.
No.
You weren't sure if you're going to get a toenail in there or
To explain that a little bit better, you're obviously in mainstream prison.
yeah,
And there's a rivalry between people that are in mainstream and people in protection. And commonly, people in mainstream prison are the cause of people that going to protection.
yeah, correct.
And so in Yatla, it is a strange circumstance. You have the kitchen, which is staffed by the protectee prisoners.
Yeah.
So they're cooking for the guys in mainstream. And so they've been put into protection by guys in mainstream, and then they're the ones cooking for mainstream.
Yeah,
And so the guys in mainstream are wondering, are they putting stuff in my food?
yeah, I know. It's bizarre though because it sort of goes both ways. It could go either way, whether the mainstreamers are cooking or the protectees. But it's like the protectees are in for some pretty heinous crimes. Some to do with kids and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know about having those.
People preparing your meals.
Yeah,
It's,
it's no good.
No. I think there was a riot in Yatla in the 90s. It might have been 95 or 96.
Yeah,
And that riot was actually sparked by problems with the food because of the protectees cooking the food in the kitchen.
yeah,
And that's what someone who I spoke to that was around then,
yeah,
they said that riot came from the issues of the food.
yeah.
What about overcrowding in the prison? Did you find that doubling up of the cells, and did you find that it was an issue?
So I think the jail started to get a lot more full sort of towards the maybe halfway point of my sentence. I was a cadet at the time, and I started to hear a lot of things from Moblong, how it was getting overcrowded, Yatla was getting overcrowded. I'm pretty sure actually there was a unit in Yatla called E Division, and they had 4-up cells. So a 4-up cell is where you have 4 people in one cell, a small cell. So, and they were sleeping on the ground, a mattress on the ground.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's incredible to think that's going on in this day and age.
yeah,
Yeah. I found that, resources were really overloaded. Anytime you wanted to access some type of resource, that it just seemed to be on a shoestring budget.
yeah, absolutely.
And from what I was told, a lot of the cells were originally single cells.
Yeah,
And then because of overcrowding, they've put extra beds in all these cells and doubled them up. but didn't increase the amount of staff in prisons and didn't increase the amount of resources. So the resources were essentially halved.
Yeah.
The last thing on prison, mate, drugs. There's no doubt there's a lot of drugs available in prison. You just have to look at the urine testing, the results on the urine testing.
Yeah.
Did you find that there was drugs available in prison? And if so, were you tempted to have a dabble?
No, there was definitely no temptation. I couldn't actually think of anything worse than staying awake inside jail.
No.
But yeah, no, it was definitely around. It was definitely around.
In all seriousness, you know, the boredom in prison with some people and the isolation and, you know, being kept away from your family.
Yeah.
And also going through issues like you've experienced, you know, with your relationship. Breaking down while you're in prison. And you still managed to keep away from the temptation of drugs in prison.
Yeah.
What do you think gave you that mindset to keep away from drugs?
Well, this is the thing, Dan. I said to myself from the day I went in that, like I said originally, I want to train, keep my head down, and just, you know, turn everything around. So it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. There was no temptation. It was actually quite easy. It was a pretty easy run, I'd say.
Easy run. You're committed yourself from the start.
Yeah.
That's the avenue you're going to go down.
Yeah, that's right.
And once you'd made that decision internally, it was easy for you to follow through.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll change topic a bit, mate.
Yeah.
Obviously, the aim of this podcast is to find out what it is about sport and exercise that helps people overcome adversity.
Yeah.
We will get to your boxing in a moment.
Yeah.
First, can you tell me whether you were involved in any sport prior to prison and during prison other than boxing?
So prior to prison, I played footy when I was a bit younger. I played footy under 15s. I was playing for Edwardstown Football Club.
Edwardstown, yep.
Yeah, won the premiership that year.
Did you?
By 1 point.
Mate, let's talk about your boxing.
Yep.
First question, do you enjoy punching people? Do you enjoy being punched?
I don't enjoy being punched, and everything in the ring, absolutely.
Yeah, legally, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything in the ring, for sure.
People would look at boxing and some would say basically it's just two people trying to punch each other's heads in. Is there more to it than that?
Well, look, I'd say the number one thing is to hit and not get hit.
Yep.
As Floyd Mayweather would say, hit and don't get hit.
That's it. So there's a bit of ducking and weaving.
Yeah, of course, because you know you want all your brain cells at the end of it.
But there's a lot of strategy to boxing.
There is. It, honestly, Dan, it's definitely like a game of chess. You can't just go in there and just start, you know, throwing haymakers. So it's very strategic.
I've heard the comment chess boxing.
Yeah.
And which really says, you know, it's a lot about your thinking and strategy. So it's a real mental element to boxing.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well as that physical element.
That's right. You've actually, when you're in there, you just got to be super relaxed. Super relaxed.
Well, that's something that's is surprising.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine being relaxed.
Yeah. I guess, it comes over time with the more experience, you know.
How did you get into boxing?
So a good friend of mine, Musa, we were at Cadell together, and he boxed prior to being incarcerated as well.
Okay.
And we started training together, and he actually asked if I wanted to box with him as well. So that's actually where it started, back at Cadell Gym.
So this is probably in the year leading up to your release?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, about a year before I was due to get out, yeah.
Musa, I actually know Musa as well. I was lucky enough to meet him at Cadell.
Yeah.
You know, I found that he was someone with strong principles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very disciplined towards training. He genuinely cared for the people who he genuinely cared about.
Yeah.
And, you know, he had a good eye for potential, I think.
Yeah.
He had done a lot of training himself. Would you think that his influence on you had a lot to do with you getting into boxing?
Yeah, absolutely. And he actually helped me sort of stay on the boxing path because it's difficult. It is difficult. It's a hard sport.
What would training look like with Musa?
At Cadell, it was pretty limited.
Yeah.
So basically a lot of skipping, a lot of rounds of skipping, shadow boxing, We'd do rounds on the pads, many rounds on the pads, rounds on the heavy bag, sparring.
Was this daily?
Daily, yeah.
Daily training?
Daily,
And roughly how long would a training session go for?
It's like boot camp.
It was like boot camp.
Look, training could go anywhere from, realistically, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, somewhere around that mark.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound like much, but when it's a high pace, high intensity, it's a lot.
What about dieting?
The dieting. You remember about the dieting.
I do remember. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. Look, the dieting was good. It was very strict at that point in time, because obviously at that point in time we're at Cadell, when we're in the cottages, we could cook our own food.
Mm-hmm.
So oats in the morning, 2 meals, chicken and rice, then maybe a tuna and rice meal, and then for dinner we'd try and have red meat, like mince and rice.
I actually was, got to experience that. I was living with you guys when this dieting was going on.
Yeah.
And I've got to say that I had dieted in the past, or at least I thought I had dieted in the past.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen anyone as committed to dieting and as focused and strict on the dieting as I saw with Musa.
Yeah.
When people tell me now that they're dieting and I ask them, how's that going?
Yeah.
It's not dieting.
Yeah.
I've seen a good example of dieting from Musa, and these people aren't committed as he was to being diligent to dieting. And of course, so the good thing about the dieting was the cheat day.
Oh,
What happened on the cheat day?
mate, where do we start? So the cheat days were the good days. Absolutely. We'd have the I remember the old coffee frappes.
The Saturday night specials.
Saturday night specials. So what did we do? We'd do like a Euroses, pizzas in multiple cottages. We'd have to borrow other people's ovens as well, just to get all the pizzas through. Schnitzel night, we'd have schnitzels.
I've got to say it was a big event.
It was.
It was a big event, and at times I wondered if I was even in prison.
Yeah.
The food that was prepared for those cheat nights was just unbelievable sometimes.
It was good, hey?
Yeah. Musa was released from prison before you.
Yeah, correct.
And then you were released from prison maybe 6 months, 8 months later.
Yeah.
Before you were released, after you trained with Musa, had you thought about entering into boxing when you got in the community? What were your thoughts about getting into boxing once you got out of prison?
So once I got out, I in the first 2 days, I went and got a gym membership just for weight training.
Yeah.
And I actually messaged Musa, I think the first day I got out, and we just touched base, and he just said, I'll get you, if you can, come down to the boxing gym that I'm training at. So straight away, I was keen.
Keen.
I was keen.
So this was building up before you got out, obviously.
Yeah.
You were committed inside. You were thinking, can't wait to get out. I'm going to get straight into boxing.
Yeah.
You were released around 2016, 2017?
So yeah, end of 2017, close to 2018. So December 22nd, 2017.
Just before Christmas.
Just before Christmas.
I've seen lots of different experiences that people have had after serving a long sentence and then being released from prison. Some positive, some not so positive.
Yeah.
Can you remember the day that you were released? The morning you got up and the events you went through that morning, packing your stuff, saying goodbye to the lads. What was that morning like?
Mate, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So, and as you would have seen, Dan, over your sentence, every day someone's getting out.
Yes.
And it's the same process.
Yeah.
All their mates will come out, see you later, get the details, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking one day, I get that day.
Yeah, the amount of times that you see someone else out, say goodbye to them, give them a hug, walk them up to the release building.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then walk back and think, my day's coming soon.
Yeah. Or at some point.
At some point.
Yeah.
Who come and picked you up from prison?
My mum.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, my mum came and picked me up.
You met your mum at the front of the prison.
Yeah.
What happened from there?
So obviously being in Cadell in the Riverland, it's I reckon it's about a 2.5 hour drive back to Adelaide.
Yep.
So I just remember when I got out, we got a couple of photos and stuff like that. My mum's very photogenic.
Yeah, nice.
So I was trying to get a few flicks.
Yep.
Yeah, we drove back in to Adelaide. But obviously on the way we stopped at the first set of shops that we could.
Yeah.
And I just remember sort of, getting out the car and just walking into the shops and just sort of like buzzing out, having physical money,
Yeah.
being able just to grab what I want myself,
Yep.
and having access to, all these different items.
It's one thing people don't think about who haven't been to jail
Yeah.
is you don't get to see money in prison.
No.
So you go years without actually seeing a note or a coin.
Yeah, correct.
And it is quite, it's interesting the first time you go, oh, a bit of cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And what was the car trip like? Do you remember actually being in the car and travelling at 100 kilometres an hour down the freeway?
Yeah. I was actually I was definitely vigilant and looking out the windows and, at, certain sections and stuff like that.
Just taking it all in.
Taking it all in. But I was on the phone too. I had a phone.
Oh, yes.
I was straight on the gram.
Yeah.
Straight on the Instagram. And I spent probably most of the time actually on the phone just catching up on a lot.
Instagram wasn't around when I went into prison.
Yeah.
And phones were fairly archaic. So, I actually loved when I first got to handle a phone.
Yeah.
In the car.
Yep.
Heading down the freeway from Mobilong. And I just felt like a kid at Christmas just with a phone. Yeah. It's amazing in prison, obviously, you don't have a phone. And how much you take it for granted of being able to call someone when you want or receive a call when you want or get on the social media.
Absolutely.
And
send
see
a
what everyone's
message.
doing, send a message.
100%.
Yeah. It's a major thing, getting a phone, I think, when you get out.
I agree.
What was your first meal?
You know what? It was just the usual. When everyone gets out, I'm stopping in Hungry Jack's, KFC when I get out. I didn't think I would, but I did. I did. I got Hungry Jack's.
Yeah, nice.
And it's funny because after eating clean for so long, especially while I was at Cadell, I had it and I actually ended up vomiting it back up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was that bad?
Yeah. Yeah. It tasted good at the time, but not long and it came straight back up.
So after all that strict dieting,
Yep.
your stomach had adjusted
Yep.
to good food.
Yep.
And it didn't like the Hungry Jacks.
Nah, I let my hair down.
So, mate, over the weeks that followed, what are some of the challenges that you experienced with, I guess, getting back into life?
I guess some of the things, just sort of getting little things like your bank back up and running, getting IDs and stuff like that. I was actually quite fortunate though because when I was at Cadell, I got my driver's license.
Okay.
I got my driver's license there, and my photo for my driver's license was taken in jail.
Okay.
Too, in the navy blue t-shirt.
And that's still your photo now on the license, or?
Yes,
it is
still to this day, 2024.
Yeah, definitely a big thing having your license.
Yeah, so it's just getting all little things like that back up and running. But it didn't take long. It didn't take long at all. Maybe about a week until I had everything sorted. Opened up a bank account, things like that.
And from what I remember, you had a good relationship with your mum.
Yeah.
And she would have been a big part, I guess, of you getting back on your feet and
getting those
things organised.
Yeah, she was. So my mum was there the whole time throughout my sentence. I'd call her quite regularly. And even when I got out, she'd actually saved up some money for me for when I got out too, because obviously I got out with nothing.
Yep.
Oh, actually, no, that's a lie. You get out with your, what was it? Your $200 from...
Yeah, I can't remember.
Payment from selling is like $200 or something like that. But yeah, I was quite fortunate because my mum had saved up some money and gave that to me for when I got out.
Yeah, well, I really don't know how anyone actually can get back on their feet and survive if they don't have that sort of support, because that support payment that they give you is really a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what about reconnecting with friends? How was that? Was there any weirdness, or was it a good experience, or how did that go?
It's quite easy with social media. My best friend Tyler, he actually, because I got paroled to my grandparents' house, and my best mate, he actually lives just around the corner. Mm-hmm. So it was super easy. Come see me that day. And I just reconnected with everyone through social media, Instagram. And then I got my Snapchat up and running. And
it was just like old times, catching up with your mates?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It was a bit not weird at the start, but it was a bit, you're just finding your feet. You know, you've spent so long away. So it was just sort of just finding your feet with everyone again, you know?
Yep. Just blending back in.
Yeah.
Seeing what people are doing and and how you fit in to that sort of situation again.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else that sticks out, caught you out unexpectedly, something you come across and thought, I didn't think of this, you know, when I was thinking about getting out?
Not really, Dan. It was actually pretty straightforward. I was quite lucky because I had a contact in regards to work. So I contacted a guy by the name of Jim and called him up within the first 2 weeks. I called him up and I had work. So that was the main, that was key for me was getting work. So once I had that, I was just, you know, my foundation was set.
Well, that's really important, having employment and having a sense of control of your own life then if you're getting a wage coming in.
Yeah.
So that was really handy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like you know what it was, Dan? It was just like a fresh start. Like I just felt like a whole new person. I got out. I was in a very good mindset, strong, clear-headed, fit, healthy, active. You know, I had very good habits. I'd formed good habits. And then gaining employment within 2 weeks of being out, that just set, like I said before, it just set the foundation for me.
Yeah. And you also, as you said previously, rekindled with your partner.
Yeah.
On the day you got out?
Yeah. So we reconnected the day I got out,
Yes.
and then I got to speak to my daughter as well, which was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we properly rekindled again when I went over to Perth, Christmas time in 2018.
What guidance would you give someone that's about to be released from prison?
My advice would be to get a job
Yep.
as soon as you can.
Yep.
Find employment, get a gym membership,
Yes.
and just hang around like-minded people.
That's good advice, I think.
Yeah.
And now, this is my favourite part of the discussion, mate, your
Yeah.
boxing.
Yeah.
Following your release from prison, this is a part of your life which I really don't know a lot about.
Yeah.
I know some of the, broader details.
Yeah.
What is it that you love about boxing?
The main thing I love about it is how it makes you feel, how it makes me feel. It just, you know, after a session, I'm completely clear-minded. I feel good, like I feel great. You know, it's like boxing, it's like a drug for me.
So it's really, puts you in a real deep state of focus.
Yeah, it does.
Where you're not thinking about anything other than your boxing.
Exactly.
And that clears your mind.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Like there's times, Dan, where, and, you know, even today, you know, we all have, you know, issues and things arise.
Yeah.
Which when your mind is clouded, it's hard to make a good decision.
Yes.
I find.
Yes.
So for me, when I train, when I box, it clears my mind completely, which enables me to make better decision making.
You've had some success with your boxing since you got out of prison. Can you give me a brief overview of the timeline of events from the time you got out of prison?
Yeah. So I started training at a gym called West Central. The original gym was based in Underdale. Started training the very start of 2018. And 6 months in is when I started competing. So my first competition was in August 2018. And then from there just competed up until 2021.
How many fights would you say you had?
I had 10 in total, and then a couple of exhibition bouts.
What was the process at the time that you went through to choose the gym you were going to?
Yeah.
And who were the people that gave you guidance with getting into training? What gym you went to?
As we said before, Musa got me to go down to West Central, and that was it from day dot. That was the gym.
And that's where you're still now?
Yeah, still to this day.
What sort of, guidance or motivation did you have in those initial stages to really, because, my understanding is boxing takes a lot of commitment.
Yeah.
And to the point where you got to compete so quickly, considering you hadn't boxed before prison.
Yeah.
And then you come out of prison, you're straight into training.
Yeah.
So you're out of prison at the start of 2018.
Yeah.
And into boxing at the start of 2018.
Yeah.
and then to compete at August 2018, it takes a lot of commitment,
Yeah.
I think, and a lot of dedication
Absolutely.
to boxing. So who gave you the guidance of the amount of training you needed to do and that plan, I guess, of keeping the motivation up to that point?
So there was a couple of key people. So obviously Musa being one, but then my first coach was his name was Matt,
Yep.
older Aussie guy,
Yep.
and he was great. So he sort of started things off.
Matt was your first trainer?
Yeah.
And would he dictate the amount of training you were doing or the intensity? Like, how did you work out how much training you needed to do each week?
So the classes were Monday to Friday. So I was in what was called the development squad. So that was Monday to Friday, but then I was training 6 days a week, so Saturdays as well.
Yep.
And Matt would structure that out
Yep.
in various ways, from footwork drills, sparring, bag work, pad work, shadow boxing. Just he covered the bases of everything.
And when you first went into the gym,
Yep.
you obviously hadn't been into a boxing gym before.
Yeah.
There was guys in there that were, elite at an elite level. For example, Musa ended up trying out for an Olympic team.
Yeah.
Did you feel intimidated at all?
It's always a bit daunting going into any sort of new gym. But that is definitely one thing with West Central. Everyone there is extremely humble. All humble guys. Very welcoming.
Okay, so you started training,
Yeah.
and you were also working.
Yeah.
At that time, you hadn't met personally with your partner.
Yeah.
I guess you were sort of living like a bachelor,
Yeah.
which definitely would help managing different obligations in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Were you on parole at that time?
Yeah, I was.
So you had parole obligations?
Yeah, I was on parole for about 3.5 years.
When you went to the gym and really decided to have a good go of it,
Yeah.
you obviously had to fit this in with your work schedule,
Yeah.
your parole schedule,
Yep.
any other family commitments I'm not sure that you might have had. Like, how did you go about coordinating everything so that you had time for your boxing and balance that with work and everything else that you had going on?
So I'd train, the development crew would train at about 6 o'clock at night, Monday to Friday. So, I'd be up early for work. I'd go to work, knock off, and then I'd go home, relax for a bit, and then I'd go straight to the gym,
Yep.
train.
Really, you were working during the day,
Yeah.
and it was a gym at night.
Yep.
And then you'd be knackered at the end of the day,
Yeah.
go home, sleep, go to
Yep.
work.
Yep.
So a lot of commitment there
Yeah, it was.
to stay on track. And I guess coming out of prison as well, and being a young lad coming out of prison,
Yeah.
there's a temptation of going to parties and enjoying yourself a bit,
Yeah.
thinking that it's time to enjoy yourself,
Yeah, of course.
which is fair. Most people think, I've been in prison,
Yeah.
I've dealt with this horrible situation, and now I want to enjoy myself a bit.
Yeah.
How did you find that? Was that an issue, or were you that committed to boxing that it didn't even cross your mind? Or
Oh, look, I definitely ventured out a little bit. I'm a very social person. So I was definitely, when I say out and about, like a lot of, going out for coffees and stuff like that, and then interacting with friends on the weekends. But Monday to Saturday, it was just consistent training. And I think that's the main thing, Dan, is the consistency.
once you're in the routine,
Yeah.
it's you stay in the routine, you're feeling good,
Yeah.
and it's a good flow of time. Everything's moving along smoothly, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
When was it in that process that you decided, I'm going to have a fight?
It pretty much got put forward to us straight away. Like when I first started, there was a couple other guys that were just getting into it as well in the development team. And it was said from the get-go that this is the team that is building up or leading up to compete. So basically, are you in or are you out? So yeah, I was all in from the get-go.
All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty full on.
Yeah,
Straight into the gym,
Yep.
straight understanding that now you're training to fight.
yeah,
That would also be a source of motivation
Yeah.
to train as well.
absolutely.
You've made the commitment to fight.
Yep,
You've got your team that you're training with.
yep,
You become close with that team.
yeah,
You got your coach who's coaching you. You got Musa, who's motivating you.
Yep.
And now you're committed to fight. This is your first fight. You know that all your training is for this first fight.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself on the line.
Yeah.
Your integrity on the line in front of all these people.
Yeah. You're really putting yourself out there.
As those about 7 months went by and you were in that training process, were you constantly thinking about the fight?
Yeah. Yeah.
Constantly.
Absolutely.
And that would be a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I believe. I would be thinking about it. Obviously, that's why you're training. You think I'm training. But the pressure would keep you committed to training.
Yeah.
Because you think, if I don't train and I let all these guys down.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a big thing.
There was a lot of pressure. You know, a very good friend of mine has brought me down to that gym, and that gym is just filled with high-level athletes.
Yep.
Extremely good boxers.
Yep.
So you don't want to, you definitely don't want to let anyone down.
They're keeping you accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah, through that process.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had your training plan 6 days a week.
Yep.
Was it easy to stick to that plan?
It wasn't easy. Obviously, there's some challenging times. You know, we tired, you're sore, you know, it's cold, you know, things like that. You've had a big day at work.
Yeah.
You know, all those little things.
Yeah.
But this is where the consistency comes into it. You just keep rocking up.
Just keep rocking up.
No matter what.
That's
You just show up.
the method.
Yep. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Showing up.
I could imagine there would have been some really, really tough days where you're like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
I could just take today off.
Yep. Easily. You know, there was times where I thought my jaw was broken from sparring.
Yep.
There was times my nose busted.
Yep.
You know, just things like that.
What kept you committed?
I had a strong passion for the sport,
Yep.
and not quitting. When I start something, I like to see it through.
What do you think is in you, though, that causes that commitment?
It's a good question. I guess just me as a person.
It's something, that you haven't thought what causes that, but
Yeah.
that is who you are.
Just me. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it seems to be a trait. You've obviously had this trait going into prison. You
Yeah.
dedicated yourself to staying on the right path.
Yeah.
And then that's followed through into the boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you enjoy the most about your training?
There was a couple of things, Dan. You know, one being how good it made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier about being, you know, it made me feel really good, clear-minded, you know, but you're fit,
Mm-hmm.
you feel strong.
Obviously, you're not feeling good all the time about
Yeah.
going into training.
Yeah.
But are they the days where you get through training and at the end of it you think, oh, I did it.
Best.
I really didn't want to do it.
The best.
And then you get through training
Yeah.
and it's a sense of self-satisfaction.
Well, this is the thing, Dan. It's easy to train
Yep.
when you feel good.
Yes.
It's not easy to train when you feel bad.
No.
It's not easy to train, you know, when you think your jaw's broken. It's not easy to train when you're bunged up.
And that's willpower that's
know?
getting you through that.
Yeah,
Obviously, you've got a fair bit of willpower there
Yeah.
to continue through those challenges.
absolutely.
Did your training change as the fight got closer?
Yeah, so we would have. So I'll go back a little bit. So I was saying before. So a guy named Matt was my coach to start off, but then we had another coach by the name of Friday, who I become really really close with. He came in about 3 months into my training, or maybe a couple of months into my training.
So your coach Friday come along
Yeah.
and he was like instrumental, I guess, in the preparation actually for the fight,
Yeah,
for the first fight.
yep.
Yep.
So it's a funny one with my first fight, Dan. So the guys from West actually picked me to go to the Brisbane state titles, and because I was still on parole, I had to put in for approval, and they approved me, but they approved me for the wrong dates.
Oh, no.
They approved me for the day after.
Wow.
So,
And when did you realise?
well, the day they gave me the approval, which was I think a few days before I was due to fly out.
They always leave it to the last minute.
They do.
And so what happened?
It's a funny one. I called my parole officer. I can't remember her name. I think it was maybe Amanda, something like that. I called her and I said, hey, there's been a mistake. They've approved me for the wrong date. I said, we're flying out, just say in 2 days, but they've approved me for day 3. It was her response that got me.
What was it?
Still stuck with me till this day. She said, she's sorry, really sorry to hear that. She knows how hard I've been training because, she sees me every week and how dedicated I am. She goes, I can't actually give you permission myself, but she goes, you can go, but just not with my permission. She goes, but I'm happy for you to go, but without my permission. But I said, so I'm going to breach. That's breaching my parole. And she said, well, yes, but I will let the parole board know that you left with my knowledge, but not my permission. And I was like, if I leave, I'm going to get breached. I said, so, no. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going
Thinking
to.
you might go back to prison.
Right?
Yeah, that's
I said,
right.
no, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't know where that was going, She's happy for me to go, but not with her permission. So it was almost like, it almost felt like she was setting me up,
Yeah.
which was bizarre, but we just that one was out. So that was in July 2018. That was
so
July.
you cancelled that event?
Yeah, cancelled that one.
Okay.
But then it was Golden Gloves, which was a national event.
Yeah, right.
So everyone from Australia was there. That was a golden one.
So this is your first fight,
First fight,
Golden Gloves.
Golden Gloves.
Is the Golden Gloves one fight or a series of fights?
So you can have multiple fights. It depends on how many people are in your category. I had actually cut down to 69 kilos.
Yes.
So I cut down I was weighing about 80
Wow.
and I cut down to 69, which was pretty difficult, challenging.
Very hard work. How
Yeah.
long did it take you to cut down like that?
I had about 5-6 weeks.
Yes.
I had a proper nutritionist and stuff that I kept in touch with
Yep.
each day. But making that weight was difficult.
In your already lean and fit state
Yeah,
to then come down further.
yeah,
So you got into that class.
yeah.
And how many people then were in that class?
So I can't remember how many people, but I ended up having 3 fights over a space of 3 days.
Okay.
A fight each day.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And so the very first fight in
Yeah.
that series, do you recall in the change room before the fight, gloving up,
Yeah.
the process where you come out?
Yeah.
Did you have your own song playing?
It's funny because that's how I envisioned it. You weigh in, you're in your jocks, face to face with your opponent, but it was nothing like that because it's amateur boxing.
Yep.
And because it's such a big event, it's a national event. There's a quick turnaround, so they just get people sort of through. You just hear your name. Yep, Daniel Chung versus,
Yep.
Joe Smith,
Yep.
and then you're just straight in.
So they call you, your gloves are on,
Yeah,
you come up into the ring.
Yeah.
It's not a big entrance. You just make your way into the ring.
yeah. And they've got 2 rings.
Okay.
There's 2 rings.
Yep.
Heaps of people, heaps
Yep.
of boxers.
Yep.
Heaps of spectators.
Yep.
2 rings going at once.
At once.
Yep.
Okay. Obviously, though, in your mind, this is a high pressure situation.
Absolutely.
This is your first fight.
Yep.
It's a national level.
Yep.
Interstate, were you?
Interstate,
Interstate,
Queensland or Brisbane.
so it's a
Yep.
big event to go
Yep.
there, to get there. What was the feeling like in the ring, looking at your opponent, knowing this is it, this is the do or die moment
Yep.
where all this training is coming to this one point here where I've got to perform?
Yeah.
What was that like, the pressure on yourself and how you felt?
I'll tell you a bit of added pressure, Dan.
Yeah.
No one from West Central has lost their first fight.
Wow.
So there was a lot on my shoulders.
Yep.
All the guys were there. No one's lost their first fight. This was my first fight.
Yep.
I had full confidence in the training that I had done. I had full confidence in my coaches and what they had prepared me for and what they had taught me over that amount of time. So I was ready to go. Nervous, but ready to go. Yeah.
Just a little bit of pressure.
Yeah.
No one ever losing a fight before.
No.
On their first fight.
Nah.
And that's what you had to live up to.
Yeah.
Plus having the fight as well.
Yep.
Knowing this guy has been training probably just as hard.
Yep.
With a coach as well. Hoping to beat you.
And he was a Brisbane boy too, Dan. So the Brisbane boys, they all train hard.
Yeah.
Brisbane's known for their good boxers.
And it was their home state.
Hometown.
That this place was held in as well.
Yep.
So they had the home crowd advantage.
Yeah.
And what happened with that fight, mate?
I won unanimously.
Unanimous fight.
Yeah.
How many rounds?
3.
And how did that feel?
The best. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. I actually had two of my family friends who my dad's best friends. They were living in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Well, they live in Brisbane, and they actually came to watch me as well.
Yeah.
So I could hear them from the sidelines too. So
Yelling out.
Yeah, yelling out. So
Yeah.
no, it was good. I loved it.
And that's one thing I was going to ask you. Who was there to share the moment?
So obviously all the boys from the gym,
Yeah.
and my family friends.
Yeah.
So we'll tour them.
The end of the fight was it like you see on TV where they announce the winner and there's two people standing each side
Yep.
of the ref. You got your arm put up, your glove up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was loving it. I was loving it.
Nice. And so the fight went over 3 days, like you said.
Yep.
There was a number of fights. So what
Yep.
happened in the next fight?
So this was the one. Mm-hmm. So the second fight, the guy that I was fighting was actually picked to be the number 1 seed.
Right.
They thought that he was the one who was going to win it,
He was the favourite.
and he knocked his first opponent out.
Okay.
So the opponent that he fought just after me, he knocked out.
And did you know that at that time?
Yep.
Yep. So the pressure.
Pressure
Went
more,
up again.
More pressure was on, and it's a funny one. So there's a time frame,
Yeah.
right? You could be bout number, you could be bout number 10, but just say the fight start at 10 in the morning. You don't actually know when you're going to be on. You could have 9 knockouts, and you're on within 20 minutes.
Yes.
Or you could have 5, 4-round fights, so you could be on within an hour and a half, right? So, long story short, someone from the gym is at watching the fights, and there was just a quick few stoppages, just like that. And before I knew it, I was in that van, driving down to the event, wrapping up in the van,
Like before you expected to go down there?
getting ready in that van.
Yeah.
Because we got called and said he's on in 2 fights.
Oh, okay.
So and the van, and we're about 20 minutes away. Not about 20, about 15 minutes away.
So it was a scurry of activity.
Yeah.
In the van.
Yeah.
Putting the wraps on.
Yeah.
Gloving up in the van.
Yeah.
Getting out the van, going basically straight into the ring.
Yeah. Well, because this is the thing too, Dan. Like after your fight, you just want to relax. Like
Yeah.
I still have to make weight.
Yes.
So I still have to go down in the morning. I still have to weigh in. So I can't just go and binge eat
Yes.
after I weigh in, because if I win, you weigh in the next day.
Yep.
So I'm just back at my room relaxing,
Yeah.
just completely relaxing.
Yep.
And that's when I got the call.
Then they hit you up.
Not far off.
Yeah. Get in the car.
Yeah.
Get down here. The fight's
In the car. So Musa was driving.
Yep. So you're in the car. You
Yep.
fly down there. This guy has knocked somebody out.
Yep.
You get into the ring.
Yep.
Do you have a look at him?
Yep.
And
Big boy.
a big lad.
Yeah.
Eyed him off a little
Yeah.
bit. And do you
Yeah.
have a strategy?
So he was a southpaw too.
Okay.
Southpaw. So
Yeah.
I remember Coach Friday and Coach Matt were just saying, so with southpaws, you just shoot your right hand and left hook.
Yep.
Right hand,
Yep.
left hook, left body.
Yep.
So sort of just ran with that.
And obviously kept away from his hits, knowing that he was a hard hitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what though, Dan? You know what got him?
No.
Was the pressure.
Got him.
Just relentless.
Yeah.
I just didn't take a step backwards.
You just kept the pressure
All
up on
in.
him.
All in.
And how did that fight end?
I stopped him in the second round.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
TKO?
Yep.
Wow.
Stopped him.
Impressive.
Yep.
Yeah.
I felt better that one, actually, than what I did the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say you learned a lot from the first one about how to manage yourself through the fight? Being your first fight, I guess there would be a bit of adrenaline kicking in and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then coming into the second fight, you had a little bit more understanding of that process
Yep.
and your own, how your body feels inside. And so I guess you could sort of manage that a bit better.
You do to some degree, Dan, but it does sort of just go out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's back to sort of learnt traits once you're in the ring, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
And that's where the training really kicks in.
Yep.
You're not, it's harder to sort of think strategically.
Yeah.
It's basically reverting back to what you've learnt through your training.
Yeah.
And that's what you're putting your trust in.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, awesome. The third fight, what happened in the third fight in that
So,
series?
third fight,
Yeah.
tough country boy.
Yes.
And he was the second seed. So they picked him to be second best.
Yep.
And he was a bit smaller than the second guy that I fought. He was about my size. I actually ended up losing on a split decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
On
lost,
points.
Yeah, on points on a split decision.
Okay.
So it could have went either way. He
Yeah.
was a hometown boy. He was a Brizzy boy as well.
Yep.
So I was peaking.
Yeah.
I was peaking that I left it to the judges.
Did you feel like you should have lost the fight?
No,
You felt
not at all.
no.
Not at all.
Are these fights scored on points?
Yeah, on points.
And so the point system itself probably is something you hadn't been used to getting the most out of how the point system works.
Correct.
And that was national.
National, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a tough fight. Like
Yep.
it was like he came to fight.
Yep.
He was a tough boy.
Yep.
He was a real tough boy.
Credit to him.
Yeah, credit to him.
Were you happy with your own performance over the 3 fights?
Yeah, I was. The fact that I was still making weight, because to get down to 69 was one thing, but then to maintain 69 over 3 days of competing was extremely difficult. That was a mental challenge that I haven't faced before.
The first thing, obviously, once you've competed in the first fight,
Yeah,
you just want to reload with carbs,
yeah.
get your energy back.
Have a nice meal.
But you couldn't do that.
Nah.
Extra pressure and,
Yep.
and, you know, extra discipline, I guess.
Yep.
Otherwise, you don't weigh in the next day,
Yeah,
and you're out of the comp.
you're out.
After you went through those 3 fights over 3 days,
Yep.
what would you say was harder? Was it the fights themselves or the training leading up to the fights?
You know what, Dan? You know what I will say? The fight's actually the easy part.
Yeah.
It's the preparation.
Yep.
It's the dieting. It's the training. 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. You know, it's relentless. It's grueling.
I guess the training 6, 7 days a week, the grueling training, it's a lot of mental preparation, not just physical preparation.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're conditioning yourself mentally
100%.
for a high pressure situation.
100%.
But a massive opening to, you know, your journey with boxing, going into a national fight. What other memorable fights did you have since then?
Another memorable one was when I rekindled with Sarah. She'd come back down to Adelaide. This was at the start of 2019. Yeah, start of 2019. She actually moved back down. And I wasn't competing at this point. I was still training, but I wasn't training to compete at this point. A lot of things had happened in 2019, and I'd got back into training to compete.
Okay.
And it was the end of 2019, December. I got picked to go to Mount Gambier.
Okay.
And my partner Sarah came to watch that one, so she came with me. So at this stage, I have 2 daughters. So both my daughters stayed. They stayed with my mum, and me and Sarah drove up to Mount Gambier. That was a big one. So that was my partner seeing me for the first time compete.
Was it, how many fights was it?
That was just one.
One fight.
Just one.
Yeah.
So this is my 4th fight.
You're saying, you know, with your partner coming along,
Yeah.
an extra element of accountability and
Yeah.
pressure, I guess.
Absolutely.
What did she think of you boxing?
Loves it.
Loves it.
She is my number 1 supporter.
Before this fight, was she your number 1 supporter as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was loving it. Like when I was talking to her about my boxing and what I'd done over in Queensland and stuff like that, she was all for it.
Yeah.
So she's really supportive.
And so how did that fight go?
So that was a stoppage.
Okay.
Yeah, I stopped him in the 3rd round.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was set for how many rounds?
For 3.
For 3
so
rounds?
last round.
Yeah. TKO.
TKO.
Obviously, Sarah was there to share that with you.
Yeah.
Was she by the ringside?
Yep. You could hear her.
You could hear
Don't
her?
worry, you can hear her in the video. Yeah.
Other lads from West Central, they were there?
Boys from West Central were there.
Yeah.
Not everyone was there, but most of them were. But there's a funny story behind that one.
Yeah.
So, you know, everyone weighed in, and there was this big Maori lad that weighed in front of me. I remember he weighed in. I actually fought this fight at 75 kilos.
Okay.
My first and only fight at 75 because it was my first one back, you know.
Yep. That's a completely different division.
Yeah, so it's an extra 6 kilos.
Yep.
So the lad in front of me, he weighed in. And he was a big boy. And I thought that I seen him weigh in at 75. And I thought, all right, this is him. This is who I'm competing against. But I thought, fuck. I thought there's no way he's 75. I thought something's going on here. And long story short, again, I just, you have someone at the fights, they sort of just tell you, all right, fight number 10's up, you've got 3 to go, something like that. And, so I've gone down a couple of fights before I'm due to be on, warmed up. This guy had walked out first, but I didn't see him walk out. They've called me up. I get in, and I realise it's not him. It's not the guy who I thought it was. He actually ended up being like a weight class or 2 above me. So yeah, that was quite interesting.
Yeah, so you were relieved.
Yeah,
Thinking
a little bit of relief.
Yeah,
a little bit.
because thinking the size of him.
Yeah, I thought he's a big boy. How's he 75 kilos?
I guess those sort of things can play on your mind.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's a big mental battle, Dan. Straight away you judge someone. As soon as you look at them, you create something in your head.
What about your daughters? What do they think of Dad as a boxer?
They love it.
Yeah.
So my girls, they're older now.
Yeah.
So Alexis is 11 and my youngest Peyton, she's 7. So they love it. They love my training. They always want to come with me when I train. I've actually got them into boxing as well. Not competing, but I just take them down on a Saturday. So that's good too. Yeah, they
Good
love
for a
it.
bit of fitness.
Yeah.
Not the next Ronda Rousey's, mate. Would you say that you were driven, really self-driven by your own personal challenge of competing in boxing? Like, was that part of the driving force of you wanting to compete?
Yeah, definitely.
Self-induced test on yourself and test on your own abilities?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You do all this training, this grueling training, the dieting, everything, cutting weight. So that's definitely.
Do you think by going through all that, all the process, the training, the fights, the ups and the downs of it, do you think you know yourself better?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, definitely, mentally and physically.
In what way would you say?
So mentally, so you always think, you might think, oh, I can only do one more round. But you really learn that there's a lot more that you can push, right? Yes, there was many times where, I thought that was it. I thought, nah, my body's had enough. But then your mind is definitely a strong element and just can push you through.
Just digging deep.
Yeah, digging deep.
Past beyond what you thought's possible.
In the trenches.
And then and then after you've done it, you think, you know what? I can dig deep.
I can do it. Yeah. You really see how far you can push yourself.
And do you think the boxing has had a positive effect in other areas of your life?
Yeah, so the boxing definitely has helped me in other aspects of my life, especially with being a good role model for my kids.
Okay.
With eating healthy, eating clean, training.
So they see Dad fit, healthy. You're eating healthy around the house all the time.
Yeah.
Naturally, the kids are eating healthy because you're eating healthy.
Yeah.
They enjoy going to boxing.
Yeah.
They see it as a fun event.
Yeah.
They see Dad's down there. We're going down there. They don't even realise they're doing something so beneficial for themselves.
Yeah.
It's part of the fun of hanging out with Dad.
Yeah, definitely.
What about employment, mate?
Yeah, just the commitment side of things for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Your energy at work?
Yeah.
Your effort that you put into employment?
100%.
You seem like someone that gives 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
You give 100% to your boxing. You give 100% to your kids. You give 100% to your employment.
Yeah.
It's really second nature to how you do things.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about coming across some idiot in the street, some loose idiot that comes up and wants a fight? How do you think you might manage that situation now that, you've boxed?
It's funny, Dan, because people think that, boxing is this aggressive sport and, I guess in some instant it can be. But boxing for me really just humbled me, So in a situation like that, it's just really easy for me it's not worth it.
No.
It's not worth it. Just walk away.
He is just an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because people think it might be the complete opposite. People think, you're boxing and, like I said before, it's this aggressive sport, anger, things, a lot of emotions based like that around it. But it's not. Like I said, for me, it really, really humbled me. So
the term resilient, you've obviously heard this term thrown around.
Yeah.
If someone described a person as resilient, what would you say that is in a person? What is resilience from your understanding?
Just being able to get through adversities, Dan.
The dictionary defines it as springing back or rebounding.
Yep.
Other sources of information describe resilience as the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties,
Yep.
Either physically or mentally.
Yep.
So according to this definition, would you consider yourself resilient?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that boxing has increased that resilience, both physical and mental, like the training involved in boxing?
Yeah,
Has that raised your ability to rebound and spring back, do you think?
absolutely. Like what you put your body and your mind through, especially when it comes to competing, it's hard to sort of level that, match that with most things in life.
I'm not a fan of public speaking.
Yep.
And when it comes to public speaking, in the lead up to public speaking, I really feel nervous about public speaking.
Yeah.
And public speaking doesn't have the physical element that boxing has.
Yeah.
It doesn't have someone on the other side really trying to punch my head right in.
Yeah.
None of that's involved. It really is just getting up on the stage and speaking. But it still comes with that same level of nerves, the same pressure of performance, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, definitely.
But nowhere near to the extent that I could see boxing.
Yeah.
Personally, I think you couldn't ever have anything better for resilience than boxing.
Absolutely. I agree.
And the training involved with boxing, I guess the ability to bounce back increases with the more training you do, physically and mentally.
Yep.
So if you have a break from boxing, do you think resilience in some way, whether it's physical or mental resilience, would slowly decline over time?
Do you know what, Dan? That's right. Resilience actually, when I think about it, does decline because even for me, I don't have long periods of time that I don't train, but there has been times where I might have, a couple of weeks off or something like that, and I do actually notice a difference just in my mental health and things like that. I do actually notice a slight difference.
Are there any times in your life outside of boxing when you come up with a challenge and you're sort of hesitant? You think, I don't really want to do this, or this is going to be difficult, and not in a way of being weak, but just, the unknown, nervous, like me with my public speaking.
Yeah.
And then you reflect back on what you've been through with your boxing, and that somehow gives you the strength to go,
Yeah. Absolutely.
Is there any examples you can give?
Yeah, so there is one example when I changed job careers.
Okay.
So like I said originally, when I got out, I contacted a guy named Jim, and that was for traffic management. I was employed at that company for just over 6 years. And I'd actually decided to make the jump. My best mate owns a landscaping company, and decided to jump over with him. And it was actually the conversation with my original boss, Jim. It was that conversation that was really daunting for me.
In what way, mate?
It was a hard conversation to have. It was daunting in the sense of basically letting him know that I'm going to leave.
Because you'd been there for so long.
Because I've been there for so long, and we had a really, really good relationship.
And so that was a hard conversation in your mind.
It was.
To face and to come to him and say, listen, I've enjoyed my time here, but I'm moving on.
Yeah, it was hard. And I actually was thinking on the drive to the depot to have this conversation with him. It was like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right, it's funny.
Yep.
I was sort of thinking, again, like back to the boxing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, if I can strip 10 kilos in 5 weeks, do this grueling training, what's the conversation?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that actually gave me a little bit of a push too.
So it's just that self-talk.
Yeah.
Self-talk, reminding
100%.
yourself what you've done.
100%.
Knowing your abilities.
Yeah.
And thinking, putting it into perspective about what you're about to do was nowhere near the struggles you've been through before.
Yeah. Well, because you know your capabilities.
Yeah. Mate, I'm going to try something here.
Yeah.
I've found a description of 8 core skills that combine together for resilience.
Okay.
So they're like the elements of resilience.
Okay, the foundation.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if I read these out to you, maybe you can take a moment to think about it and see how it may apply to your boxing.
Okay, no worries.
So the first one is self-awareness.
In the ring?
Yes.
for sure,
Yeah.
because you've got some guy throwing punches and bunches at your head.
Yeah.
So,
You also have to be aware of how much effort you're exerting
yeah,
and
definitely.
not to overexert.
Yep,
Otherwise, you're going to lose yourself for the rest of the round.
definitely. Your movement, where you're moving, where you're going to move, things like that.
Definitely, yeah.
Yep.
A high level of self-awareness, I would think.
Yeah.
In boxing,
Absolutely.
especially.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you're not, there's some devastating consequences.
100%.
Vision.
I guess we all, as boxers, want to vision that we win our fights.
Yeah. You've got that vision and that driving you all the way to that fight.
Yeah. I used to always envision me getting my hand raised,
Yeah.
and that was the one for me.
That's the driving mental image.
Yeah, 100%.
Determination.
That's a massive one.
Easily relevant.
Yep.
What are some examples where you've had to dig deep and use determination?
You know, when you're doing 6 to 8 rounds of sparring with, you know, fresh opponents every 2 rounds or every 3 rounds or something like that before in prep for your fight, you have to dig deep.
That's what's getting you
know?
through that.
Yeah.
Just your determination.
Yep.
Sheer determination.
Absolutely.
Confidence.
Yep.
Do you think you need confidence, but do you also think that confidence grows through boxing?
It's a funny one. Like, just knowing that, how I said before with the conversation with my boss, you know, well, with my old boss, you know, thinking things like, having thoughts like, I can't do it. I don't know if I can do it, but you know, pushing through, because what you've done, what I've done through boxing, I know I can do anything.
Organisation.
You've got to be organised, got to be punctual.
Definitely.
Training schedules, everything's scheduled. But I'm I'm real big on routine
Okay.
and punctuality.
And dieting as well.
Yeah.
It must be hard work maintaining a healthy diet. You need to be prepared.
Yep.
Yep.
Definitely.
Problem solving.
Yes. I've got one for you for that one. So you could be sparring someone, right? Let's use sparring as an example. You could be sparring someone and they're getting the better of you, right? They're landing these shots and the problem solving comes in. You need to figure out a way relatively quickly to you know, stop him from landing these shots.
So you got to be really mentally on the game.
Yeah, on the ball.
And come up with a new decision
Yeah,
in the heat of that moment.
definitely.
Yeah.
Which isn't always easy.
What about maintaining relationships with people?
Like with my coach Friday, like just having, you know, putting 100% just trust into him.
That is a big thing, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, like building up that trust in your coach and having the confidence in what he's telling you to give you the confidence to go into a fight.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Maintaining relationships generally.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say was, so with the boxing, you know, I feel like I'm always on my game. I'm fit, I'm healthy, clear-minded, which allows for these good relationships with my better relationships with my family, my partner, my kids. It allows me to be the best version of me that I can be. You know?
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you really feel that
yeah,
in the
100%.
And so, mate, the final question really is where to from here? I know your life is quite full at the moment.
Yeah, it's full steam,
You got work,
full steam.
full-time work,
Yeah,
full-time with your partner, full-time with the kids, obviously.
yeah.
What's happening with your boxing at the moment and where to from here? Will we see any fights in the future?
There's a big possibility. So it's like this, Dan. So a summary of life as it is now. You know, I'm full time involved. I'm a full time landscaper. My partner's actually a FIFO worker.
Okay.
So she works in the mines.
Okay.
So she's a week on, week off.
Yes.
So it's full steam. Like the week that she's away. So I'm very fortunate because my mum, she's retired now. She will come to ours. You know, she'll do the school drop offs, pickups while my partner's away at work. She plays a very big part, you know, in my small family's life. You know, with the kids and my partner and stuff. And you know, both kids are in school. You know, doing well. I'm still training probably anywhere from 3 to 4 times a week, maybe a bit more, maybe sometimes a little bit less. But it's full steam. It's just busy, really busy. But I have said, look, Sarah actually keeps telling me, she keeps saying, when are you going to get back into it? You know, because I'll show her things of training and stuff like that. And she's always at me, when are you going to get back into it? I'll tell her the same thing. You know, I'll say, look, when you get a job back here, I'll get back into it.
Definitely, it would take the commitment.
Yeah.
And more assistance with the kids. Obviously, when she's away,
Yeah.
you're looking after the kids.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the spark's there.
The spark's still there. I'm still actively training. I'm still actively sparring, doing all the bits and pieces. I'm not dieting. I eat clean, but I'm not weighing up to the last grain of rice. So,
Well, Daniel Chung, I thank you tremendously for chatting with me today. I've learned a lot more about you through this discussion.
yeah.
I'm even more impressed by the courage and commitment that you have delivered on through your boxing,
Yeah.
and all the while working full-time and maintaining family relationships. I really think you've got a lot to be proud of there, and to come so far, especially since imprisonment. It's actually outstanding. One of the main things I've taken from this discussion is the significant role your commitment to sport and fitness has played in the progress from prison. I think this really supports my theory that sport and fitness can play a significant role in overcoming adversity. I thank you for your time today. I wish you all the best for the future. I certainly will be ringside if you have any future fights.
Absolutely.
I'd love to see that. With that said, mate, I'll give you the last word, and thank you again for participating here today.
Appreciate it, Dan. Thanks for having me. It's been a real honour. I would just like to give a special shout out to the gym West Centrals. It's an amazing gym. I've been there since day dot. Very good, humble people. It's a great gym. If anyone is looking at getting into boxing, I would highly recommend checking West Centrals out. The new gym's actually located in Hindmarsh, just next to the entertainment centre. Mate, the facilities, they're next level. You know, high altitude rooms, you know, Olympic size ring. You know, it's got a HIIT section, it's got a weight section, it's got a massage studio. It's actually just recently opened up a cryotherapy, which is they've got like an ice chamber and things like that. Mate, it's next level.
Sounds awesome. I really appreciate the chat today, Daniel.
No worries, appreciate it.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks.
Gone